Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, taking a look across the country. I don't know if there's a team more criminally underrated, and not even from if you're a college football fan, I think you know how good the Washington Huskies are. That being said, the national media attention, and I get it, a lot of cool stories happen in Colorado, Oregon, USC, but this Pac-12 conference is loaded, and I think the Washington Huskies not only are good enough to win the Pac-12 championship, this is a team that if you're Georgia, you're Alabama, you're Michigan, you don't want to see this team in the college football playoffs. A lot of hype around the offense, and it is good. We'll get into that. But this defense, too, is playing rock solid. It's one of the more complete rosters you'll see across the country. Kind of want to take some time diving into what we've seen through the Washington Huskies' first 3 games, give you guys some of our thoughts. Now, before we do, just want to say thank you to you guys. The support for doing game previews, these team breakdowns, it's been absolutely amazing. We learn a ton of from you guys in the comment section. So one, if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the fellas, consider subscribing to the channel. But more importantly, let us know your big takeaways through the first 3 games for your Washington Huskies, and we'll chop it up there. Dale, I'm going to kick this one off to you. I mean, I feel like we got to start on the offensive side of the ball here. Dale, I know you went back and watched that Michigan State game again. How are we feeling about this Huskies team throughout the rest of the 2023 season?
I'm not gonna lie, and I know they haven't really gotten into the meat of their competition yet. But if you ask me to pick who I think the best offense in the country is, I genuinely think it's going to be this Washington Huskies team. And obviously the wideouts. This to me might be. I think this is the best wide receiver core.
I think so.
What you have is you have 3 guys. They all have catch everything. They contested catches, whatever they got to do. They can run routes at all 3 levels. They can all get deep. They can all catch the ball shallow, and they can all make plays with the balls in their hand. Like these 3 wide receivers, it gives this Washington team so much flexibility to play a brand of offense that I don't think you see from anyone else in the country right now, along with the fact that Michael Penix is just playing at an unbelievably high level.
I'd even go as far as adding Jeremy Bernard into that mix in terms of just an elite athlete that can go after the catch as well. When you have this many weapons on the field combined with the quarterback who is arguably the most accurate quarterback in the country, when fishing for some stats prepping this, 4th nationally in points per game, 46.7. Yeah, we're not surprised with that. 8th nationally in completion percentage at 74%. Here's the kicker. They are 1st nationally in yards per pass. So you have a top 10 completion percentage at the same time pushing the football down the field, completing the 12.2 yards per pass. They're averaging 9.5 yards per play on offense, legitimately a first down every play. This offense can hurt you in so many different ways, combined with an offensive line that I think can be better. And this might be a hot take, can be better than what we've seen. I think they've been pretty solid, nothing to gripe about. I think it can be one of the better units in the Pac-12. And if we see that, I mean, that's just more fuel to the fire that this Washington offense is just as complete as it gets.
Yeah, and that was the question coming in. I mean, everyone knew these wideouts were incredible. We all knew how well they were playing at quarterback with Michael Penix. But that offensive line, it had some questions. And I mean, for you to say it's the best unit in the conference, I'm not sure I totally agree with that. But frankly, the way this offense works and the way that Michael Penix can throw off platform from both his left and his right, he's playing with an unreal amount of composure too. I mean, he's just staying in there, taking hits, delivering accurate footballs. When they give him pressure, it's really not phasing him too much. So it's, again, I think this offensive line, it's been solid. They're running the ball okay. I get close to 5 yards of carry with most of their running backs, but it doesn't feel like it matters when they play poorly because Michael Penix he's got a level of composure. He can get the ball out on time and just a feel with these wideouts where it just doesn't feel like anything matters besides what that group is doing.
Michael Penix is an elite processor. He is super talented. The arm talent, has the arm strength to make all the throws, extremely accurate. I mean, it just seems like they're running routes on air. You go back and watch that Michigan State game. It seems like there's no defense on the field. It's just a lot of space, getting the ball to these guys early and on time. And we'll say this, I don't even think I'm that surprised. A lot of people said, this offense can be really special in 2023. We're seeing that, certainly. Dill, what makes this Washington team even more special is I think they're playing a defense, a brand of defense that is really good. And you put this kind of defense, and I'm not saying this defense needs to even be top 10, top 15 in the country, But if it's a top 30 group, if it plays like that, I mean, this is legitimately a team that can go win a national title.
And what's jumping off to me is ZTF is back,
Back,
and
so
obviously he's
back.
had some injuries for the past couple of years or so. But I mean, the way he's coming off the ball, the burst he has, it's back to what he had when he was kind of that draft pick early on in his career before the Achilles. He is looking like that guy again, and that to me is huge because you knew you had Braylon Trice, but Braylon Trice is a power rusher. He's really tough in the run. He doesn't have that same elite ability to get on the edge. And I love it. This isn't like anything against Braylon Trice. He's just a different style of guy. ZTF, when he's doing his thing, I mean, there's just tackles can't block him. And he feels like he's back to me. That athleticism looks like he's right back to form. And that's what's jumping off to me in terms of what if this defense can kind of make enough plays. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect, but they got to make a couple plays. If they can bring it with this front four, that's the type of defense they need to play to just be good enough to do their thing with the offense.
That's so funny you say Z. That's exact. I have ZTF back as one of my things in my notepad.
And if
And
you're watching these games, you can't.
And it's awesome to see because, like, last year, I mean, let's be frank. He looked like there's a reason why he came back. He just looked like a shell of himself 3 years ago. We're talking about this dude being a first-round pick, and I don't even think that's out the window if he continues to play to that level. I mean, this is a team. I surprised you with this before we went live here. He's 10th nationally in points per game allowed. They're only giving them 12 points per game. They just played a Michigan State team that I think will go 6-6 in the Big Ten. Like, that's not a horrible team at home. At least you were on the road. I mean, and they were dominant.
I also think Tuli and Ulumu in the middle are playing really good ball. Again, and they took their level up, and that was something I think I was coming in saying like, man, they got to get more out of this defensive tackle position. It's been so good at Washington for a long time. I mean, these two are really, I think, starting to put it together. Standing up double teams, doing a little bit more in the pass rush, which is what was killing them last year. Is they just weren't getting any interior pass rush, and quarterbacks were leaking out and running all over them. I just feel like that those two guys in the middle, especially, are really starting to play some good football. And if they can clean that up, I think they're bringing a fair amount of good play in that secondary and through.
Oh, we'll get there, but like at the last point I want to make, especially when you're evaluating defenses, you want to see like a group that can get after the passer, and I think they're getting that group right. Like Braylon Trice and ZTF, if they can kind of play to their potential, and you look at the teams that you're going to have to beat to come out of the Pac-12. The reason I think the Pac-12 is the best conference, and you push back on this, I don't even think I'm crazy for. You look at I mean, Arizona just went on the road to Mississippi State and took them to overtime. That's Arizona, to respect to them, but they're not a top team in the Pac-12 by any means. Washington State beats Wisconsin. This Pac-12 conference might be the best conference that we see in all of college football, and largely because of the quarterback play. And if you're Washington, looking at how you get out of the Pac-12, you got to be able to affect the passer, because if you can't do that, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, Shadur Sanders, throw them in that list, they'll dice you up. So, I mean, the next part, like, they got really two really solid linebackers. I don't want to they're really, really good. They go to the football. They're always around the football. The secondary was not great last year. I got some more stats for you. 47% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks. Now, granted, they haven't played the best passing attacks yet. Like Michigan State's not great. Boise State's not great. That's 5th nationally. But what's even more impressive is they're not. It's same thing we were talking about the quarterbacks. I don't mean to bog you down with numbers. I'm not even a numbers guy. I don't know I'm doing this. That being said, they're 16th nationally in yards per pass given up. So they're not allowing you to complete many passes. They're also not giving a lot of explosive plays through the air at 5.5 yards per pass to opposing offenses. Jabbar Muhammad, massive gap for the Huskies in the portal.
Yeah, and that's the huge thing, because again, that was a huge issue to it. Just guys being wide open. And you're right. I mean, at this point, like the jury is kind of still out on what this defense will ultimately end up being. Because again, the games when they play Oregon, USC, and the other Pac-12 schools that you reference, who have the elite quarterback play, obviously Washington, Utah, and UCLA, like those 4 Pac-12 schools, when they all get tangled up, that's when we'll figure out who's really good, what quarterbacks are really good, what lines are really good, what secondaries are really good. But right now, I mean, you're not really seeing any real weak
No
spots.
warning signs, no red flags coming from this Washington team through the first 3 games, and I think that's what you're most excited about. I don't know. I look at this team, I look at the depth chart, we kind of just covered it. You can't really find many holes. You look at the boxes you have to check to do something special at the college football level. The biggest one is the quarterback, right? Big check with Michael Penix. Second is probably the explosiveness. Big check with those wide receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, they're taking care of business. USC's awesome. I've been talking a lot of USC football. I think they're a great program. I think UCLA, Utah, Oregon State, very, very loaded Pac-12 conference. But I think you're crazy to be sleeping on the Washington Huskies coming out of this Pac-12. And whoever does come out of the Pac-12 is going to be, a serious contender to win a national championship. Dill.
No, I mean, when you can score like these teams out of the Pac-12 can score, especially like the Oregons and the Washingtons and USCs, like you're just so dangerous. Because again, if you touch the football and you're Washington, you expect to score it, and you're not wrong. Because this offense is just a well-oiled machine. They're just so good.
And one note before we log off here is like you starting again. Don't put the what is it, chicken before the egg or whatever. That being said, I don't think I said that thing right. Anyways, my point that when you're kind of projecting how you're going to match up with a Georgia or an Alabama or a Michigan, I think Washington is good enough on the trenches. That was something Oregon just wasn't there last year. I think Washington's good enough on the trenches. I'm not saying they're probably better on the trenches, but I think they're good enough to be competitive with those teams. It's a complete team. I can't wait to get to see this team kind of getting through that Pac-12 conference. Pac-12, they're going to be putting the boys through some late nights over on the East Coast because it's absolutely electric. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Y'all know we like this Washington Huskies team. Love talking about it. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.